There you have Camelot. See, that's exactly why I'm supposed to turn down the speaker, because I get feedback. That was Camelot with the song Forever off of Karma. Before that was Threshold with Light and Space off of Hypothetical. And Ozzy Osbourne from back in 1984, I believe. You Can't Kill Rock and Roll off of Diary of a Madman. I still remember when somebody got me that album as a birthday present. That was pretty exciting. Back in the days when I had vinyl. Well, that wraps up Mostly Metal, and I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to switch things over to the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program.
Your insubordination will not be tolerated.
And welcome back. Now you're listening to the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program here on WVLP 103.1 FM in Valparaiso. I'm Ken the Metal Professor, and joining me in the studio is the wrestler I know as Rancid Joey Rack. Thanks for coming in.
No problem.
Although we were just talking before we went on the air about different incarnations of the name, so currently it's you're getting introduced more as Joey Rancid.
Yeah, that's what my manager's been calling me lately, Charlie Jr.
Mm-hmm. You were saying a little bit about the origin of that. We'll be repeating a lot of the stuff we already talked about
fine.
here. So
I can
dive
talk
in
forever.
there. Just give us a little bit about the origin of that name, because that's a pretty unique one.
Well, I was a big fan of the band Rancid in high school, and I was like the only kid in high school that liked that band. Everybody thought I was freaking nuts, like the music was garbage and whatever. And so people just started calling me that because that's like all I would listen to for the longest time. And so people just started calling me that. And then when I started getting into the wrestling business a little bit more, I was a babyface for a couple of years. And then I started becoming a heel. I was getting sick of the whole babyface thing. And so we became a heel. So it just Rancid Joey. It started off as Rancid Joseph Rack at first, and then it just kind of evolved more and more and more. And now it's just Joey Rancid now.
Uh-huh. So in those early days, the first time I ever got to see you was actually here in Valparaiso. And side note to talk about later, pretty excited that wrestling is coming back to Valpo next week. You'll be a part of that.
Yep,
we'll get to that in
there
a while. But this was probably about 3 years ago now. When
it was actually probably like 4.
Oh man, okay, yeah. So when you're 52 like me, those years kind of compress together. I was trying to compare it to the length of time I've been doing this show, but it was at the Moose Lodge in Valpo, which was actually a fun place to see shows. Not a bad seat in the house, except unless you were behind one of the pillars, I guess. But you were introduced as the Prospect, and having just watched Sons of Anarchy all the way through, I was all about that, and I knew exactly what it meant. So how long had you been working in that role?
I think it was maybe about a year, maybe half a year, 6 months. It was going on for a while, because when I got introduced with the family, the group I'm with now, they didn't seem like, because me and Charlie had taken a trip down to Tennessee and did a show down there, and we did a little like one-time faction thing down there, and it seemed like we just kind of getting closer friends and everything, and I was doing the heel thing, and it kind of we kind of got more of a friendship going, and it just kind of he thought of him and Ivan Manson thought of the idea, because I'm a small little thing, that maybe we should just bring it up like this. So it was just kind of evolved step by step. Started treating me like I was a bag of crap, and then it kind of got better and better and better, and then the characters started to evolve at the same time, because we didn't know what we were going to do from there at that point in time.
So for people that haven't seen you work yet, to set the bigger picture, you're talking about the family, which is this, a not leather jacket wearing group, but a group of the ones that have been in there the longest that I know have been Ivan Manson, Old School Manson. Those are the two, I think, besides you, those are the ones that I've been aware of the longest. And now we have Braun the Lumberjack. And is there anybody else besides Charlie Jr.?
There's Jake Andrews down at Southland Championship Wrestling that goes with us. runs with us down there, and I think other than that, that's about everybody.
Charlie Jr. is sort of the mastermind, so he doesn't get in the ring. Did he ever used to, or is he always just?
No, he's always been a manager.
Okay.
Oh, always been a manager, from my understanding. Yeah, he's always been a manager.
So he's sort of the mouthpiece of the group.
Yep.
And so from the day when, and he loves doing that, I can tell.
Oh yeah, he's good at it. So
definitely. So from the days where I first started watching you as the prospect, you have sort of been, shall we say, low man on the totem pole in the group in terms of always taking the blame for when things go wrong, the guy getting left behind in the ring at the end of a match when something didn't go right. And has that really changed much over the last 3 years?
It's changed a lot, believe it or not. When Charlie and Ivan first came together, they were like, "We're going to treat you like junk." And they asked me, of course, are you okay with this? Like, and I said, yeah. I was like, because I was doing the comedy gimmick before this. So when it comes to the comedy stuff, I'm all down. So it was kind of more comedy than brutality at first, and then we kind of changed it. We realized it was getting too comic-ish, and we kind of changed it to be a little bit more to where Charlie would smack me around and stuff like that a little bit more and more, because it was just I was getting too much sympathy from the comedy. So we just kind of started changing it, and I was getting all this sympathy from fans, and I would still treat them like junk, and they're like, "Why, we like you," and then it's like, "Oh no, I don't like you though."
And for a long time, it seemed like you were being set up to have to prove yourself to remain in the group, and at least that, it seems to be, you don't see so much of that anymore in a month in, month out sort of setting. Although
storylines don't go very far nowadays, especially on our level, the independent level. They don't go very far anymore. So keeping that going for as long as we did was quite shocking.
It's consistent, and it holds up over different promotions too, right? Is it basically the same?
It went in two promotions. It was that PWK that was running out of Valpo, and then it was ARW Pro out of Lake Station. So it was flipping between the two, and they kind of just stayed hand in hand, because most of the people that would go to those PWK shows would go to the ARW shows. So it was just kind of, people saw it back and forth. So we didn't change anything.
Right.
We just treated it like it was at one promotion, and just kept rolling with it. Like with the thing that happened at ARW, okay, we'll just transfer it over, okay, because most of the time it was the same people.
Right.
So it just kept going.
As somebody in the audience, I appreciate that, because a lot of times, especially in a region like this, which is chock full of different promotions, kind of feeding from the same core group of people, it can be really disconcerting to not know how I'm supposed to react to this person in this promotion versus to that same person in a different promotion.
Yeah.
It's hard to I need to bring a file just to keep some of that straight.
Keep track of everything. Scorecard.
So do you get out and about across the state line into Illinois in terms of promotions there?
Yeah, I do Southland Championship Wrestling out of Shabance, Illinois. At Hunter Payne's promotion out there. Because especially since the ARW Pro and the Southland Championship Wrestling been going head-to-head lately. So it's been kind of cool. I started going out there maybe about a year ago. About a year ago, they needed a guy, so they got a hold of me, and I was tagging with Ivan there for a little bit. Now I've just been kind of doing my own thing out there.
Is Ivan as intimidating behind the scenes as he is up front? He's a scary dude.
Depends on which side of him you get on. Like my wife and my mother know him as like kind of like a nice guy and everything. And then I know him as kind of like my buddy, but he could be one intimidating dude. Just by looking at him. Like, I'll bring friends to shows, and the first thing we got to introduce him to is Ivan. They're just like go up there and shake his hand, their hands shaking like crazy, like he's gonna stab him or something.
He used to be in, I was talking to John Rose was here last week, and he had mentioned that Ivan used to be in Windy City Wrestling.
Oh yeah. I knew who Ivan was before I even met him, because I started watching Windy City because I was looking up local promotions, even though it had shut down at that point in time. I knew who he was already, and I knew who Old School was before then either. That too. So like when I started going to ARW and they have some of the Windy City guys there, it was people that I would watch, and it was really cool. And now I work with them, so it's kind of like a full circle kind of thing.
Good guys to learn from.
Oh yeah, I give him and Joey Boom Boom, I give those guys, Charlie, Joey Boom Boom, and Ivan Manson, I give a lot of credit for, especially even coming up with the character I do now. They were huge in important part to coming up with that whole thing. Yeah, I give those guys a ton of credit for helping get me to where I am now.
Mm-hmm. So are you kept, obviously everybody would like to be, getting more and more involved and go on to higher and higher levels, but are you pretty happy with the amount of time, like every month that you're out doing a show, once a month, twice a month? Does that give you a good balance?
Yeah, it gives me a good balance right now because me and my wife just found out we're about to have a kid on the way.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And some people found out at a show, this past ARW show, you're having a baby with that thing? But no, yeah, it gives me a good balance. Like I would, me and my wife have talked about it plenty of times about, me eventually getting more out on the road, as opportunities present itself. So once in a while I do go down to Tennessee every once in a blue moon, mainly in the summertime.
Yeah.
But no, I mainly just stay where I'm at. And if I don't reach any higher, I'm pretty content. I won't be disappointed with myself. I told myself after I had my first match, I did the one thing, and if it never happens again, at least I did it.
Yeah.
So,
have you had conversations yet about when he or she is finally here, like how long you're going to wait till you actually start bringing him or her to shows, letting them watch wrestling on TV? Not to start anything here, but
my poor wife. my poor wife. So, but if you want to hear something funny though, if it's a boy, its name is going to be Joseph after my wrestling gimmick as well. But no, I don't know. I think it just kind of goes with the flow. Kind of go with the flow of it. I mean, I know she's going to want to bring he or she around and show everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think she has a problem with it. So,
So when you first started doing this, I know from again Facebook and being at shows too and seeing her there, you get tremendous support from your mom.
Oh yeah,
doing this, and from your wife as well. Was it always like that from day one, or did it take a little bit of convincing? What was the first reaction when you said, "I'm going to do this"?
My mom's been supportive since day stinking one. Oh yeah, my mom. Everybody, if you go to a show, everybody knows my mom. Everybody knows my mom since day one. She was the one that helped pay for my wrestling school. She was the one that would take me to all the practices. I started when I was 16, and I couldn't drive. She would take me. She would take me to the shows. She actually, when I did that big trip down to Tennessee, she came with. She's been everywhere with me pretty much going through this because when I was younger, my parents had split. My dad's majorly supportive of it as well. Sure. But just he lives down in Kentucky, so he doesn't see. I've done some shows where he's seen me down in Tennessee, but and I give him a lot of credit too. He's the one that introduced me to it. I've always had tremendous support from both of them.
That's great.
And then now my parents are both remarried, and I get tremendous support from my step parents as well. So I got tremendous support from everybody.
That's awesome. How do you? How easy do you find it to kind of keep a balance between your daily life where you go to church on Sundays, you seem like a nice, well-adjusted gentleman all in all, but then when I see you once a month or so for ARW, you are a total crazy wackadoodle.
That's one way of putting it.
For people that haven't seen you work before, you come out with the family. The big guys in the group, Ivan and Old School Manson, they're just, they come out with their slow, intimidating walk, and you just shoot out of the back like a firecracker. You run circles around the ring. You dive into the ring. You dive out of the ring. You
bust my ankles on the mat all the time, pounding on it.
You have a lot of energy.
Oh yeah.
So how do you flip that switch?
It's when you put the gear on. It's just like my grandfather was a Lake County policeman for years and years and years, and he always talked about when he put that uniform on, the switch goes off. My dad was in the military, so when we'd put his uniform on, switch would go off. It's when I'm lacing up, I'm putting the gear on, I'm starting to think about what I got to do tonight and everything. And and the one thing is that I never try to say anything the same. So when I'm doing the crazy stuff, especially going to the ring, I'm always thinking of different ways to do it. Like I scared the heck out of a woman. I tossed a trash can one time. It was on rollers. I just went and shoved it into the wall, and she's like, ah! So yeah, it's when I start putting that gear on, and then especially when when the music hits, it's just it's like I just forget everything behind the curtain, and then go and just forget about everything.
Now, is it just as easy to flip the switch off when you're done?
As soon as I go back through the curtain, the switch is off. Because I know I got to get back to my wife's going to want to make sure I'm not dead. My mom's not going to make sure I'm not dead. And I cool down for a little bit, and then I go see, because I know she wants to see that I'm okay. Go see my wife, and yeah, it's just immediate. It's immediate switch, and so sometimes I have to go 2 times out a night because most of the time I'm out ringside for all the family matches.
Yeah.
And sometimes going back and forth, doing it multiple times a night gets really, really draining.
I can imagine.
But yeah, it's a pretty easy switch for me to do back and forth.
One of your pieces of gear is the rope noose that you come out to the ring with, which normally starts around you, which could, there's all sorts of accidents that could lead to, but that's your business. But you were telling a fun story about that, where that piece of gear came from. You want to repeat that?
Well, one, if you're worried about accidents, it's actually fixed. You can't pull it shut.
Ah, okay.
Like, yeah, I as soon as I started doing that thing, because when I would go down to Tennessee, they like to try to grab you. And I said, if I haven't been down to Tennessee since I started using it, so I figured, I was thinking ahead of time, I rigged that thing. It's zip tied and electric tape shut under the knot. So it's basically just a showpiece.
Okay.
But yeah, I came up with the idea for a noose because Ivan comes out with a dog collar and chains, and so does Old School. And I was doing the dog collar thing, and I kind of want to stand out just a little bit more. So I was thought of a noose. And so my grandfather had a piece of rope, because I told him I had to go buy a piece of rope for wrestling. He had no cool idea why. I think he regretted giving me the rope that he gave me, but it was a rope that he had cut off from when he would jump out of planes. And it's an oil-based rope. So I didn't know that. So I go out to the ring, and I had this big brown stain on the back of my neck, because I go out to the ring wearing it around my neck. And people are asking me, how do you get that stain on the back of your neck? Or what happened? First time my mom ever saw, what'd you do? So I had to soak the thing, get it out. But yeah, so it's a piece of him I kind of get to take with me, for every show.
So the last show that I saw you on was the most recent ARW show. It was the fundraiser at Edison Junior Senior High School.
Yeah.
And you and Braun the Lumberjack were part of a 4-way tag team elimination match for the tag team titles.
Say that 2 times fast.
Yeah, that's rough. And you had a little bit of fun with Melanie Cruz and Stacy Shadows. You got in the ring and immediately pointed at them like, I want, people will get in the ring and I want that person in the ring now. And so you decided to challenge them, and it didn't turn out so well.
No, it didn't. For some reason, I don't know why. It's probably because I trained with one. I trained with Moxie Molly out in Maryville. And for some reason, my gimmick and women wrestlers have always kind of meshed together somehow. So I've been it's one of the things I'm kind of known for is wrestling women. So, and the funny thing was, I was doing it for a while, and I had bought a shirt that says "Support Intergender Wrestling," so because I was getting a lot of hate for that for a long time. And so were the women weren't, but I was getting a lot of hate for wrestling women. They hit me just as hard. So.
Were these situations which were usually billed directly as that, or was it more of a like this? It was more of just a circumstance of the match that you ended up against them.
Just random chance.
Yeah,
just random chance. I never did a storyline with a girl or anything, and I don't have no problem wrestling a woman. I have no problem losing to a woman either. I mean, I don't really care. Most guys would be like, I wouldn't do that. I don't care.
Well, that's good, because I remembered you getting carried out of the ring after a few minutes with them, so. that was pretty funny. There's no. I'm going to cheap plug here. So when I go to shows, sometimes I'll do a write-up and take some pictures and post it on metalprofessor.com. And I don't know how to control which picture gets used as the thumbnail or the picture that gets put up in the link, say when I post it on Facebook. And so this last one, when I went to ARW, I wrote it up, and one of the pictures I had gotten a picture of you getting dragged away from the ring by Braun. Your feet are, you're just, he's got you under the arms and your feet are just dragging along the floor. And I think you're still pointing at people and trying to get back into it. Yeah. And I had to zoom in to clip that, so it was kind of a fuzzy picture. But somehow that ended up being the main picture. Say, when I saw the link on Facebook. So I hope that didn't get you any grief.
Oh no, I thought it was hilarious.
So when you're working a show, I've seen you a lot at at the American Legion, sort of the home base of ARW Pro, and then they get out and about and do fundraisers like at high schools. Where do you like to work better? Do you like the smaller space of the Legion, or do you like the big airy gymnasiums?
I like the Legion. Like personally, like I don't mind doing the high school shows. Like I like it because we have more we can do in those because of the the high ceilings and everything. Right. But it just ARW has this vibe at the Legion that it's the home base, like you said. It's got that vibe that everybody when we work there, it's like for some reason everybody just puts their A game on even more. Mm-hmm. It's just like if it was like Madison Square Garden for us. It's like that little spot is just, it's always been so good. It's always been so good to us, crowd wise, and just even the building wise. We've knocked out a few ceiling tiles here and there, but it's just that the whole vibe around it. Yeah. We always know it's going to be a good show. We're never worried about it. Mm-hmm.
There were big happenings at this most recent show, particularly Joey Boom Boom stepping aside as commissioner and Marcus Portrait being named as the new commissioner. And from day one, he kind of is putting his foot down, exerting his authority on groups like the family. So do you guys anticipate tension going down the line?
Well, I think we already do have tension considering I spat in his face when he got at me. So I don't think he's very fond of me right now. I'm sure I'll get some backlash from that, but I ain't too worried about it.
Let's see, ARW has a show coming up again, April. It's almost like clockwork. The second Saturday of the month.
I believe it's April 13th.
April 13th. Yeah, and that will be back at the American Legion.
My wife's already on it over here.
Awesome. So just a quick pause to do something I was supposed to do 12 minutes ago, and that's to remind everybody that they're listening to WVLP, Valparaiso's only nonprofit community radio station. 103.1 FM. You can also stream us at WVLP.org or pick us up on the TuneIn Radio app. You're listening right now to the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program, and Rancid Joey Rancid is in the studio with me. I'm supposed to do that at the half hour, so oops, but
my bad.
It's still out there now. So it's confirmed, April 13th.
April 13th.
All right. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. One of the other things I'm looking forward to is the Wicked Pro Wrestling show coming up this Friday.
Yeah.
Valparaiso's finally getting some wrestling back in town again. And you'll be on that show. I think several of the family will be.
Yeah, I believe it's
at different times.
Charlie, Ivan, and Old School are going to be there, including myself.
Okay. You will be in a tag team match with Jake Andrews.
Oh yeah, Jake Andrews is another family member of ours. I don't know. It changes every once in a while. It's just because they're getting ready for their first show, so it's kind of like, okay, who do we got to work with? Scramble. I've worked with John Rose plenty of times, and I'm not. He's a good guy to work. He was the guy that gave me my first break in wrestling. Period. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I found out he was going to be running again, I wanted my name. I'm like, I want to go. I'm like, sign me up. So I'm excited. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, the latest listing that they posted has you and Jake Andrews taking on Tone C and Joey Britton, who I've not seen him before.
I've worked with Tone C one other time, but I don't know who Joe Britton. Mm-hmm. Is it Joe Britton?
Joey Britton. And they said he's new at least to the area, so
it must not be too much of a challenge to me. So
yeah, probably.
If I don't know his name, I don't need to worry about it.
Have you developed a preference for either working tag team or working solo matches?
I like tag team matches more. One, I don't have the best cardio in the world, so that can help. But no, I like to. Me and Braun Lumberjack have been tagging a lot more. Me and him have the same comedy kind of style, and sense of humor. and then I tag with Old School here on and off. So yeah, I like the chess game of a tag team match a little bit more. But I enjoy my singles matches too. So, but anything over 6-man, I'm just like, oh gosh.
Well, even if it's not supposed to be, when two of you guys come out for a match, the rest of you come out as well. So it's a huge party.
We always got each other's back. Except for, when Marcus Portrait throws us out, and then I screw up his tie and then spit in his face. So.
How many people are in the family right now?
There's me, Charlie, Ivan, Old School, and Jake Andrews and Brian the Lumberjack. So 6.
Wow.
There used to be more. There used to be a lot more. I think there was like 12 at one point.
Wow.
Spread out between different promotions. But Ivan and Charlie are like always been in every single version that there's pretty much ever been. So it's that those two are the mainstays of the whole thing. Because even Old School, he's been in it for years, but he's not everywhere either.
Right.
I
always imagine the family is sort of like a big amoeba that's reaching out and drawing in new people, because there have been several times at ARW where the group would come out and there would be another person with the group that I hadn't seen before. So it's probably somebody getting, from one of the other promotions getting brought over.
Yeah. It flips all the. Sometimes we get some people that come in, and sometimes we get them one time, sometimes we get them a couple times, but the mainstays are still here.
Yeah. So at Wicked Pro Wrestling, you'll have the match with Jake Andrews, and then later in the card will be Ivan Manson and Old School Manson. I think they're in the tag team setup for the Wicked Pro tag team titles, I think. Of course, you won't interfere, because...
why would I do that?
Why?
Why would I do that? I've never interfered once in my life. I've never interfered. Okay, I've never interfered on purpose.
You're a good cheerleader.
Oh yeah.
Do you get bruises on your wrists from banging the apron of the ring?
No, it's not that. I don't know if you ever noticed. I tape up my pinkies. I jam them. I would jam them every time.
Yikes!
Like horribly. But I'd be driving. I'm like, I got my fingers, it's like just my pinkies like spread out because I couldn't grip the wheel. So I started taping them, because I would just every time the first pound, jam them both. Each time I couldn't move them or nothing.
You don't hold back.
No, it sucks. Like my arms are sore. I'm just dragging around. My poor wife's just like, I'm like, can you hand that to me? I can't read. My arms won't stretch that far.
How long after say just an average match, how many days afterwards till you don't feel the effects anymore?
Like totally? Never.
Yeah.
Never. I don't. There's days that my back is just jacked up. Especially I have arthritis I've just found out recently I have arthritis in my left knee.
Yikes.
So it's it gets pretty, but like not to where I can't function. It takes about maybe like 2 days. Afterwards, and then before I know it, the next one's coming up. So it's not too much recovery time.
Have you developed any favorite moves that you like to nail other people with in the ring?
Oh yeah, I've been actually working on a lot of new stuff lately for the longest time, and I did one in a tag match with Braun against the Thieves of Greatness in Lake Station. I started doing a super kick to the back of the head. So it was just it's one of those things I just have fun. Now I have fun doing it. So I started doing that more and more.
Okay. What's your favorite one? When somebody actually gets close enough, which would be rare.
Yeah.
What's your favorite one to be on the receiving end of?
The receiving end of the most fun is honestly. You gotta think about that for a second. On the most receiving end, honestly, the most fun is when I enjoy the theater aspect that comes with pro wrestling as well. So like anytime I'm like any kind of submission hold, because like anytime I'm in a submission hold, I think of when Bret Hart and Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13 when the blood's coming down his face and into his teeth and everything. I like the dramatic factor of trying to reach for the ropes and trying to claw my way out of it, or in my case, bite my way out of it. So it's I enjoy it, even though it's getting stretched out to no end. Yeah. but I enjoy that because I just like that theatrical aspect of just like people looking at my face in pain and just getting closer and closer and closer and trying to break out of it.
When you mentioned Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, was that kind of your main formative years when those guys were at their height, or when did you start watching wrestling, and how did you change over from just watching it to deciding I've got to do this?
I started watching it when I was about 9 years old, but my parents didn't like me watching it. I used to sneak watching Raw. The first Raw I ever watched is when Jeff Hardy dived off the scaffolding into Randy Orton. That was the first thing I ever saw.
That's a good introduction.
Yeah.
It's all downhill from there.
Oh, yeah. It was my poor mom. It was downhill from there, definitely. But I would sneak watch it all the time because my dad had watched it when he was younger, but he didn't want me watching it because he still thought it was all like how it was in the Attitude Era. It wasn't PG like how it is now, more kid-friendly.
Yeah.
And we had moved. I lived in Vincennes, Indiana for a while. And we had moved. And my dad was like, all right, I know you were sneaking watching, and I'm not dumb. Okay. That, I'll let you watch it. But you have to watch it with me so I can make sure if there's something I don't want you watching, I could turn it off. And I said, okay. And then, eventually he learned that it wasn't as bad as it used to be.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of picked up from there. And then when my parents had split, I had moved back up here, and my mom would let me would just knew I was totally into wrestling, and she would just get me everything to keep my mind steady, because it was and my mom is just that it always goes back to my mom. It's always going to go back to my mom, and she would get me every DVD that I ever wanted, even though we didn't have the best finances in the world. She'd get me any belt I wanted, and just try to make me as happy as possible. And then my grandfather had found out there was a wrestling school in Maryville. And so we thought, okay, let's go check it out. So I go check it out. Signed up that day. Signed my life away to wrestling, and been doing it. Trained for about a year, and I've been in the ring for about 5 years now.
Nice. Way to go, Mom.
Yep.
And Dad.
Yep.
So we're coming up calendar-wise. We're not quite there yet, but, Easter's coming up. WrestleMania's coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 2 big seasons. Do you have anything? Are you particularly excited about anything on the national scene as we roll into WrestleMania season here?
Just wrestling season in general. Like my wife doesn't watch wrestling like all year round, but she'll watch that. She'll watch the pay-per-views. So she'll watch that. She's like, but I just like it never does matter to me what match is on the card. Personally, when it comes to WrestleMania, I just enjoy watching it. Period, because it's when you're going to see the best matches, because the guys are going to be turning up to 12 and just keep on going.
Have you ever gotten to go?
No,
to that one or any other major.
I've never been to a pay-per-view. I've been to a live event once before. My mom and dad obviously took me to a live event, but I've never been to an actual show, like pay-per-view wise, or like Raw or anything like that. Almost snuck into one once. Almost stuck into a live event that was in Hammond. Got tossed out real quick.
Oh boy.
And I don't think I've ever told my mom that story, and she's tuning in, so I'm probably going to hear that.
Was that the one a couple of years ago at the Hammond Civic Center?
Yeah.
Okay. I was there, and if I could have snuck in, I would have, because the crowd control was awful. And I got there what I thought was plenty of time before bell time, and there was a line of people out that front door, like down the building, out into the parking lot, like even 5 minutes before the show was supposed to start. So I didn't even get in the building until about 20 minutes into the show.
See, what I've always known is like this area over here, the region in Northwest Indiana, is this whole untapped area for those bigger companies that they don't ever really come to. They're either in Chicago or they're like in Lafayette. They're never in between. Even like for music artists, they're never in between. And it's like this whole little untapped area. So that's why I think there's a reason why there's so many indie promotions out here, and why some of them do so well is because all these people want to see wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's just this whole area that I think like the WWE and Ring of Honor and all those feds have never tapped into.
There was it's been many years, but there was a time when WWE would run shows here at Valparaiso University in the Arc, but it's been probably 8 or 10 years since they did that last time, I think.
Yeah, it's been. I know that's been years.
Okay. Well, that's a great segue to start wrapping things up here. Speaking of lots of indie promotions, one more time, Wicked Pro Wrestling is going to have a show in Valparaiso at Zow Island. That's going to be next Friday, March 22nd. Doors are going to open at 7. Bell time is going to be 8, but there's a pre-show match to catch, so at least I think. As of last week, John was saying,
there's a pre. I know I know that one for a fact.
Okay. But as John says, card subject to change. He stressed that last week too.
Yeah.
So bell time is at 8, but you don't want to get there at 7:55. That's the idea here. And I think tickets are only $10. And I think hopefully Zow Island will be a great place to see a show. There's plenty of entertainment before and after.
Yeah.
Good food, good pizza, stuff like that. Do you have any big predictions for any outcomes there?
Family's on top like always. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter how we have to do it. Always on top.
Going 2-0. I don't know that anybody from the family is in the Supreme Championship picture as a singles competitor. I think it's all tag team.
I believe so.
Okay.
But we'll get there.
Okay.
Just because we're not in it now doesn't mean we're not going to be in it later.
So I can definitely recommend that people come out and check out the mayhem that the family will bring to the show in at least 2 different occasions.
Oh, yeah. That's every show that we're on. It's ARW in Lake Station, or it's in Chibance, Illinois. It's Southland Championship Wrestling. No matter.
Right. And then so ARW's next show is April 13th. I don't know when the next Southland Championship show is.
Oh, that's actually this Saturday.
Okay.
It's a Saturday in Chibance, Illinois.
All right. So you'll be putting in some miles.
Oh, yeah.
Between Valpo and then going down there.
Yep. My wife is thrilled about 2 days of wrestling.
All right. Is there anything else that we missed that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you wanted to bring up?
You can follow me on social media. And I only have like an Instagram at Joey Rancid. If you want to follow up and keep up with updates on shows and different things like there. So you can always keep up on that.
Okay, so just Joey Rancid, one word?
Yep, at Joey Rancid on Instagram.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much for coming in and spending some time telling some stories.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Looking forward to seeing the show this coming weekend and then ARW next month, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
Try to behave yourself.
Oh, there's no chance of that happening.
All right, thank you very much to Rancid Joey Rack, and that brings to a wrap the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program. And I think I'm just going to fade in the automated programming here because there's only a couple of minutes before the top of the hour when you will hear the replay of this week's Punk Rock Radio. Stay tuned to WVLP all the time.